This is my new front garden in Woodbury, New Jersey. This was planted the third week in July of 2016. We've had some extremely hot weather, but most of these plants were installed about a week and a half ago, and they seem to be doing just fine. There is a drip irrigation system, and I've also been watering by hand. So everything has been quite well irrigated despite the constant daytime highs in the low to mid 90s. So let's start over here on the left, which is the east side of the garden. This wall faces east, and right here we have a Birmingham palm. This is Sable Birmingham. This one was actually planted last year in July or August of 2015 and did quite well over the winter. Lost a few of the outer fronds, but you can see it's quite healthy right now. I did have it protected with burlap though. And right next to it we have an Annabelle hydrangea, which has suffered some from the heat. You can see it's defoliated a lot. This one's been pretty tough to keep up with. So hopefully once it's established it'll bounce back just fine. And then right next to it, you can see cut back, there's another Annabelle hydrangea, which is just starting to show some new green growth at the base. I cut that back about 2 weeks ago because it was really suffering from the heat. Coming around to the side here, this is now the north side of the house. We have an April Remembered camellia, which has a beautiful double pink blossom in the spring, and behind that, see, there's a climbing hydrangea, and my hope is that in a year or two it'll climb this kind of massive and not very pretty brick wall on the north side of the house. And then next to the climbing hydrangea is a Sable minor. And this is the palm you see in the understory of a lot of pine forests in the deep south, especially in Florida. And although we're very well north of its range here, these tend to do quite well in protected locations. So hopefully this will eventually be a nice, big, beautiful specimen and fill this corner nicely. In the middle of the bed, right back here, we have a dragon's head bamboo. This is a Fargesia, and according to what I've read, this will get between somewhere between 6, 8, 10 feet tall. I'm kind of hoping this will stay a bit smaller, and I'm hopeful that it will because it was a fairly mature specimen. It was in a 5-gallon container, and this was its size, so I'm hoping that since it hasn't shot up, that it will continue to stay about this size, or perhaps a little bigger. On this side, right in the corner of the bed, is a crepe myrtle, and this crepe myrtle has beautiful black foliage. You can see that, which stays this color throughout the season. This crepe myrtle was sold as Black Diamond Red Hot, which is a reboot of Ebony Eber's Red Hot, and has beautiful fire engine red flowers. This one I don't think is going to flower this season, but maybe. There are a few buds right on the very tip, so we still might see some of that this year. So we'll see how that does over the winter. Around the base, you can see I've got some Silver Dragon Liriope, so nice evergreen ground cover to kind of ring that crepe myrtle. Oh, and this crepe myrtle, by the way, is a semi-dwarf. The ultimate height is only supposed to be about 8 to 10, maybe 12 feet, so it'll be perfect for this corner. And next to it we have an azalea. This one is bloom-a-thon red. It's a newer patented azalea that has heavy bloom in the spring, and then it has, again, a pretty heavy bloom in late summer to fall. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that flower in another month or so. And then finally, in the background here, we have a very nice panicle hydrangea. This one is called Quickfire. This one flowers about 3 to 4 weeks earlier than most of the other panicle hydrangeas. Has these nice, really big, bold flowers, and also you'll notice that the stems are very nice and thick. What's nice about this one, besides the early bloom, is that the stems don't tend to be weighted down so much by the weight of the flowers, so they don't tend to flop as much, especially in wet weather. It's a very, very nice newer panicle hydrangea. Around the edge, along the walkway, coming up to the front door, I have these roses. They are red drift roses. It's another proven winter selection. You can see very small blossoms, but they do bloom all summer. And what really impressed me is that at the nursery where I work, out of about 50 different varieties of rose, these were the only ones this summer, in all the heat and humidity, that didn't get any black spot or fungus or leaf yellowing or anything really. They're just beautiful, healthy, vigorous plants. So hopefully those will spread and make a nice ground cover. And then finally we have a hedge right here of boxwoods. This variety is green velvet. Very nice because the foliage tends to stay a really nice, deep, dark green. The older foliage does, and then as you can see, the newer foliage on the outside is more of an emerald green. Oh, and then one last thing, we have planted throughout here dwarf mondo grass. This variety is only about 2 inches tall. That's as tall as it ever gets, and it's a slow spreader, so you can see I really planted it pretty liberally to hopefully cover this area in a year or two, so we don't have a lot of weeds, and again, it's a nice evergreen ground cover. The opposite side of the house is a mirror, essentially. So the same plants in the same locations, just a mirror image of what was on the left side. As you can see, the boxwood hedge and the roses and the hydrangea, crepe myrtle, azalea, the bamboo. The only thing that's a little bit different on this side is, instead of the Birmingham palm, there is a needle palm on this side, and this, like the Birmingham, was planted last summer in 2015. It overwintered quite well with protection. It did have some crown rot. There was some spear pull on a few of the shoots, but it seems to be recovering from that. I think the mistake that I made was that I piled oak leaves on it, and I think that kind of kept the cold and damp in there and kind of caused the fungus. So this winter I'll probably put a burlap screen around it, but not pile any leaves up right against the foliage. Okay, and that's my front garden in Woodbury, New Jersey, Zone 7B, but barely, and we'll see how it does.